Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Waverley Local Planning Panel meeting for the 27th of March 2024. On behalf of the panel, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and recognise the ongoing Aboriginal traditional custodianship of the land which forms this area. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. My name is Helen Lockett and I'm chairing today's meeting, and I'm joined by two experts, Elizabeth Kincaid and Heather Wharton to my left, and Sam Marshall, the community representative, to my right. The public meeting is being recorded and being live streamed on YouTube, and you can view that later. On our agenda today, we have quite a few items. We have 13 in total, so I'd like each speaker to limit themselves to the 3 minutes to address the panel, and then an alarm will sound. Please wrap up after the alarm is sounded, as we have a number of speakers to get through today. And also, I just request that you please remain on mute until it's time for you to speak to the panel. We haven't had any apologies, and all of our panel members have completed declarations of interest, but I would just like to confirm that there are no other new declarations or conflicts of interest that panel members want to make. Heather? I have no. No, and I don't either. So everyone has no conflicts in regard to the matters that we're discussing today. In accordance with the panel's operating procedures, the panel members have inspected the site themselves before the meeting. And we have also been given very thorough reports and aware of all the issues and considerations and the submissions associated with the application. So I please request that registered speakers talk to the specific issues and do not reiterate previous speakers' issues if in fact they just would like to affirm what has already been said. And I would also like to confirm that we'll consider each application after the meeting, and the determination will be on the council's website as soon as possible. So I'd like to also say that we'll give the objectors the chance to speak first, and then we'll give the applicant a chance to respond. So the first one we've got today is 96 Glenayre Avenue, Bondi, and our first registered speaker, who is an objector, is Roland Block, if Roland is in the room and would like to speak. Is Roland available? Okay. Well, did he withdraw from, do you know whether he withdrew? Okay, well, he's not here and it's 10 past. So maybe we might just go straight to the applicant and see if there are any comments, or whether, if having viewed the submissions, you can respond to the applicants.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Given how many items you had today and the recommendations of support, I was only here in case I should respond to objectors or any concerns that you might have had that aren't expressed in the report. We otherwise accept the recommendation and conditions as printed. I don't want to speak for Mr. Block, but I understand that he had some concerns around the privacy impacts of the increased size of balconies and the terrace. I think that's very well covered in the assessment officer's report, and we don't think there are any additional visual or acoustic privacy impacts arising from this development. I'm available to watch some more of this meeting if Mr. Block arrives late, and the panel extends an opportunity to revisit a speech from him if he comes. Otherwise, if there's any other questions, I'm available to the panel.
Okay. Panel members, does anyone have any questions? No. Okay. Well, I think if Mr. Block hasn't turned up at this point, we might just move on to the next application. And thanks for your response to that,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next matter we have is 72A Lamrock Avenue, Bondi Beach. And the first registered speaker is Carla M. Stern and Anthony Buskowitz.
Yes, good morning. Hi. Our solicitor, Anthony Buskowitz, is called away at court. He sends his apologies, but he has written to the panel. So with that, I'll start. Good morning, planning panel. Thank you for your time in hearing us speak today and for your due consideration of our concerns. And as it is relevant to today's discussion, and I feel strongly that it would be beneficial for a brief review of timing, I'll briefly summarise the timeline of events and all the relevant objections at each stage. In 2018, DA 466/2018 for a main house without any changes proposed to the garage structure was submitted and approved. In 2020, applicants for 72A submitted DA 265/2020 for a garage structure with storage, tandem garage and workshop. The documents submitted clearly showed a kitchen, bathroom, internal stairwell, double-pitched roof with all intentions of being a habitable dwelling. We submitted an objection, us and our solicitor at that time, regarding the shape of the roof and other points regarding some of the regulations regarding secondary dwellings, which I refer you to. DA 265/2020/A was approved by a panel and a modified plan with a clear condition of consent for the DA being that it was not allowed to be used as a secondary dwelling. That brings us to the current DA for the same structure as 72A Lamrock and the item at hand for the planning panel today. The most recent DA 243/2023 was submitted. It sought to change the structure's use from storeroom, workshop, and garage to a secondary dwelling. I ask that the panel read our solicitor's original objection submitted on our behalf, and after the council's submission, his detailed rebuttal of the council's position. Our solicitor Boskowitz's first objection covered clause 4.6 and the insufficient amenity afforded to any resident of the current structure. His rebuttal to council's recommendation, which I cannot adequately summarise, being a layperson, concern FSR, DA by stealth and current case law regarding secondary dwellings, in addition to other relevant rebuttal points. That brings us to our comments today and what we would like to express to the planning panel. Number one, I cannot overstress how changing the purpose of an existing structure will impact the neighbourhood. Change of use is not just about retrofitting a space with zero impact upon the environment. In fact, retrofitting and changing the use of a building such as this has a huge impact on the neighbours and the environment. The council's submission states over and over how there will be no impact on the environment or the neighbourhood by allowing the structure to be changed from storeroom to dwelling. I cannot disagree more with that proposition. There will be additional traffic at the end of a quiet, dead-end street, which currently enjoys residents and children at play on a daily basis. Being the only secondary dwelling on this street, there will be the potential for increased turnover of residents, concomitant noise, waste, and traffic associated with a dwelling rather than a garage, storeroom, workshop that is for the use of the primary dwelling. Two, there is case law.
No, could you please wrap up now because the time's up?
Sure.
Yep,
this
thank
is a
you.
DA by stealth, and as outlined before in the timeline that I've outlined above, the codes and statutes in building and urban planning are designed to protect standards of amenity and standards of accommodation for everyone's benefit. By allowing a DA such as this to be approved, when the dwelling would not serve to provide a certain standard of amenity to occupants, allows developments such as these to make way for future breaches in standards and thus puts renters of such secondary dwellings at further risk. Laws and regulations are there to provide a basic standard by which to protect everyone. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Does anyone on the panel have any questions? No. Okay, thank you very much for your representation today, Carla.
Thank you.
Does the applicant want to speak Is there a representative from the applicant? Jeff Lunt, Jenny Askin, or Sharon Tan? No? Okay.
I'm sorry, I believe Sharon Tan is an objector as well. I'm not sure where she is on this.
She doesn't seem to be here today. Okay, but we do have a copy of your submission, and we do have a copy of Mr. Boskowitz's late submission as well. So we have read that. So thank you for that. All right, we will move on to the next application, which is 39 Hall Street, Bondi. And we have no objectors nor the applicant registered to speak on this one. So we might just move on to the next one following that, which is 1 Donald Place, Bondi Junction. We have a number of submissions and 2 registered speakers. The first one is Alexia Ford. Alexia, I can see you there. Would you like to speak for 3 minutes?
Yes, thank you. I have been through the documents that were sent out, and I refer to the point 2.15, visual privacy and security. It is stated about level 2 being like the south-facing elevation, potential to overlook numerous rear yards. And the recommendation by the council is to require obscure glazing to a height of 1.6 metres above the finished floor level. However, level 1, which is directly below and has very similar south-facing windows, does not have the same recommendation, and it also has the same potential to overlook all the rear yards, and I can 100% guarantee one of those windows will look directly into my living room. Level 1 still is tall enough to look into people's properties. So the same recommendations need to be applied to that level. Whether it's obscured glaze or some other external privacy battens that don't give people light in. I 100% understand that people need light into their rooms, but it should not be at the expense of other residents. And just to put into context, of the 14 objections, 7 of those come from Bill Street. 7 properties will be impacted by these windows. So this is a big issue that's been missed in the recommendations. Thank you. Would the council, I'm not sure, do you want to respond or have you noted my concerns? And I can send through more information if you like as a summary. I'd also refer you to the actual window schedule, which the specific windows of concern are windows 11, 12,
Oh, sorry,
13,
sorry,
14,
I didn't have my
15.
microphone on. Sorry, Alexia.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I had said that we had everything we needed, and you were very concise and specific in what you were asking for. So that's very helpful. So
Okay.
thank you. I was just moving on to Max Davies, but I realized I didn't have my microphone on. So is Max Davies now there and ready to speak?
I am. I'm not sure if you can hear me. I don't seem to be able to activate my camera at the moment.
Yes, if you could, I don't know whether you can turn up your volume a little bit or mine.
No, I have no capability to do that, I'm afraid.
Okay, so Max, could you just speak to the issues that are of concern to you?
Yes, thank you for listening to my thoughts on this. My name is Max Davies. I'm the owner of 164 Beryl Street. my wife and 2 children aged 8 and 2. My property backs onto Birds Lane, which were massively affected by this development. I'm also here to represent many of the houses that are along Bondi on Birrell Street, including 166 through to 160 Birrell Street, which are also properties owned by families with small children. My children regularly play on Donald Place and Birds Lane with their scooters and bicycles, and will be very heavily impacted by some of these developments. My concern is really of 2 aspects. One is of privacy, and one is also about access concerns and some disruption during construction. Relating to privacy, the south-facing windows will have clear views onto the rears of 160 through to 166 Birrell Street. As previously mentioned, these are family homes, and these are into children's bedrooms. Very critically, children's bedrooms, and also living areas in all cases. The privacy aspects that have been detailed on the DA are not suitable. Of course, windows can be opened. Even if they're frosted, they can be opened. So we are not at all satisfied with the privacy measures that have been put forward. Much of the privacy afforded to the houses seems to rely on the tree cover or various aspects, which is obviously seasonal. So in autumn, there will be clear views into living areas due to the leaf loss on those trees. We believe that at the very least, fixed window buttons should be mandated. But we do have concerns that post-construction, these will be removed, because we see that on some of the other properties around the area as well, including 95 to 99 Bronte Road, where some of those window battens have all been removed after the construction has finished. So we are gravely concerned about the privacy of our children and how they'll be affected, and some of the particularly sinister aspects of what might occur there. My second concern is around access. Birds Lane and Donald Place are very narrow lanes. We regularly have issues with people parking on those streets illegally and not being able to get cars down there. It is unfathomable to me as to how on earth a large construction such as this can actually occur on those at this site with the narrow access that is afforded to this property, which means that pretty much every single property which has a garage where they need to park their car, because of course we're not allowed to have road parking if we have a garage, that we'll not be allowed to access our parking. And in many times people will have to try to find parking elsewhere in the area, which they probably won't be able to do. And certainly with small families will be an incredible inconvenience. So I don't believe there's any mention of how that aspect will be dealt with. But that's a massive issue to us. That's really my 2 main issues that I'd like to identify. Thank you for hearing me out. And you may be on mute again because we can't hear you.
Sorry, I keep on turning myself on mute so I can hear better. Sorry, thank you, Max. You can go on mute now, and we'll hear from Philip Bull, Philip Perry, and Annabelle James on behalf of the applicant. I'm not sure who's going to speak, but if you would please, maybe it's the architect or the planner, could respond to the objectors' issues.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm the project's planner, Philip Bull.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. I might go first, and Philip Perry, the architect, and the applicant are present. Look, I'll just be quick because we're generally happy with the assessment provided on the project. Thank you, Council, and thank you, panel, for hearing us. We have some minor issues to do with the privacy treatments that are recommended in condition 2A and 2B. All we would say is with 2A, we're happy to frost southern windows on level 1, but we'd ask that the window to bedroom 2, which is window 13, isn't included in that privacy treatment, because that window is actually recessed and has a planter in front of it. It has a adequate privacy treatment. Otherwise, in terms of the additional setback of 2 metres sought for the terrace, we think that's unreasonable. There's already a 1.2 metre setback, and we've provided I suppose, a diagram showing what that gives you in terms of separation and overlook. And you don't see within about 30 metres of the neighbour. We're already set back 7 metres from the boundary. So this is a greater privacy setback than a SEP 65 building would require. So our view is privacy is adequately dealt with. In terms of the neighbour issues about the development, I mean, this is a housing development. There's nothing sinister about it. In terms of the bulk and scale of the development, we're under the height generally of the adjoining warehouse wall. The impacts are quite minor. So we recommend the report to the panel. We thank the council for the reporting. Oh yes, one more issue is there's also a condition 21 about a green roof. Our view is there was a green roof, it was deleted in the current amended plan. So we ask that condition be deleted. So in summary, we ask that condition 2A is amended to not include a bedroom window 13. And we ask that condition 2B is deleted whole as bolus, as our view is it is not necessary. And we ask for condition 21 to be deleted regarding the green roof because that's also not necessary in our view. And as I said, the architect and the applicant's here for any questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks very much, Philip. Did you send through these comments in writing?
Yes, I sent an email with those comments this morning, including the diagram.
Oh, yeah. Actually, no, I've got it now. Yep.
Yeah, Beth Masalski replied. She had it about an hour and a bit ago.
Yeah, no, I've got it. Yep.
It just details what we just asked for. But otherwise, we're very happy with the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So, yes, you can ask a question.
Thank you. Hi. Philip, you've just said the objectors speaking and we're noting that you're wanting some of the privacy conditions changed. Can you give us a response to some of the issues that they've raised that they are concerned about the privacy, or why in your view is it satisfactory?
Well, the separation to buildings across Birds Lane is over 17 metres. It's a big separation. It's more than required for a building of this height. Across the laneway on Bronte Road, you have I think it's a B4 zone where there's 4 to 5 story shop top housing with terraces. I mean, to a certain extent, some vertical open spaces are what you would expect in a locality like this that is basically within 400 metres of the railway station, likely to be developed more into the future. So it's an urban place. And my view is the development's gone beyond what is reasonable for an urban development. We've generally orientated all the living areas to the street or the rear. We've avoided Birds Lane. If you look at what the openings to Birds Lane, they're basically bathrooms and bedrooms at that, and mostly behind planters with existing privacy treatment. So we think we've done enough. It's a south-facing elevation for us, Birds Lane. So I think a bedroom area's amenity is a little bit more important than overdoing the privacy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to, if there's no other comments, questions? No, okay. Thank you, everybody. So we may move on to the next item, which is, the next item, which is 497 Bronte Road, Bronte. And we've got 2 objectors to speak, Adam Sparrow and George and Marina Sinclair. So if we could hear from Adam Sparrow first, please, if he's there. Actually, he doesn't seem to be here. So how about we just go to George Sinclair, because I can see you're there, George. Are you ready to speak and address the panel?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so my house is at 22 Pacific Street, Bronte. And firstly, I'd like to say that the revised DA has reduced the height from the original proposal, and that is very, very much appreciated. However, the section at the front of the property facing Bronte Road has increased from the roof height of the existing house in that front area. And so that section of the existing building is at the moment lower than the rear backing onto Pacific Street. My wife and I currently have a view of the Clifftop Bronte to Bondi Walk and some of the cliff face from our downstairs sunroom. We have breakfast in that area, read the newspapers, entertain friends, and we do enjoy that view. And I'm pretty sure that the current design will obstruct the view or in fact may well eliminate most of it from the downstairs sunroom. And I do also think that it will impact the view from bedroom number 3, looking down from that corner area on the western side. The applicant has a magnificent location, and no matter what design is put in place, they're going to get an absolute uninterrupted view. And it's our opinion that really nobody's view should be impacted, particularly since the 8.5 metre limit, council limit, is being breached. So I ask the panel and the owners to please consider a further design change to lower that section back to its current height, if that is possible, and it would be very much appreciated. The second issue that I'd like to raise relates to the trees and the vegetation on the western boundary. I acknowledge that the tree on the eastern side of Bronte Road is going to be removed, but the one on the western side, which is now currently above the roofline, by the way, and continuing to grow. I have a situation in my own house, and I'm an avid gardener. I spend a lot of time gardening. We have a Norfolk Island pine at the back, and we all know how tall Norfolk Island pines grow. But for the last 40 years or so, with 5 different neighbours changing in the property behind us, we initially received approval from council to reduce the size of the tree, and it has been maintained at that level. And all of those 5 families over the last 40 years have enjoyed that view and continue to enjoy that view. So I think it's very, and also then the trees on the western boundary, they used to be trimmed. Now, if you look at it, since the new purchasers, the new owners have purchased it, they've been allowed to grow into a wall, and it's no different to a brick wall. And again, from our sunroom, we used to get glimpses of the ocean through that area, but that no longer. And so I'm asking, of course.
Sorry, George, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up because the bell's gone.
Okay, all right.
Can you just conclude?
They're the two issues that I had, and thank you very much for the panel for listening to my concerns.
Thank you very much for your time today. The second speaker we have registered is Adam Sparrow from 495 Bronte Road.
That's me here, yep.
Are you ready to speak?
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm having some difficulties here. Now, I just wanted to ask about the wall that is going to be on the western side, which may impact my view. It's 3.6 metres high. I'm not a builder. I'm not an architect. I don't really understand how drawings work so much. That 3.6 metre wall, is that from the pathway leading down the side, or where does that wall go, please?
Well, we'll just have to grab the drawings here to have a look. So your concern, can you just express your concerns?
Well, my concern is if it's going on the first level, which it may do, as I said, it's not clear on the drawings as I'm not that skilled in it, it may block my view, which looks out, which looks in an easterly direction. I'm right next door.
Okay.
Been lowered to 3.6 metres, so I just want to know where the where the ball actually starts. is it on the first level above the garage, 3.6 metres, or 3.6 metres from ground level, please?
It looks like they have entered your apartment to model the view impacts. Is that correct?
Well, they didn't enter it, no. They got some photos off the real estate from some years ago.
Okay.
Right. They haven't entered. I wish they had it. They could have. They've got those photos off. And they say my view won't be interrupted, but I just need to know that 3.6 metre more, where's is it from ground level, or is it the first level that goes 3.6 metres?
Okay, well, we might need to take that on notice, so that your concern is with regard to the potential view impacts from your apartment.
That's exactly right. I don't have a problem if it's from the ground level, going down what they call the pathway in between 495 and 497. I don't have a problem with that. But if it's from that first level above the garage, like they've got a veranda out there or something.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll check on that after the meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, maybe we've got the architect here. Perhaps you've heard what the objectors' concerns were. Perhaps you could address the concerns by the objectors. So that one, the clarification about the impact of the 3.6 metre high wall on the apartment 3495 Bronte Road.
I'm happy for George.
And also the impacts on the views to Pacific Street.
Thank you, members of the panel. My name is George Karavanis. I have Nick Tobias. I'm the planner. Nick's the architect. In terms of that side view, what you've got currently, if you look after the meeting, perhaps on Street View or your maps, you'll see there's a big tree in that location currently. So there's no view out from that location. Notwithstanding that, that part of the building does comply with the front setback and the height. So it's a compliant portion. So in that regard, I think that's one of the reasons why that was supported. And there is a reasonable expectation that you would have a...
Oh, is that tree going?
It is going. Yes, it is going. Yeah. But there is no view currently.
So a view of a tree and a little bit of water would be a view, I would imagine.
Well, there's no view as a result of the tree. The balcony is set back from the street as well. So we have a screen that is set in and back from the street as well as from the neighbour. So there is still an oblique view available. And in terms of number 22 Pacific, if you look at page 259 of the agenda, figures 14 and 15 demonstrate the view from that particular property, and you'll see that the proposed building is very difficult to see on your printed agenda. But if you zoom in your electronic version, you'll see a yellow line that represents the proposed building envelope. You'll see a red line that indicates the compliant building envelope. The red line obviously takes out some water, which is the compliant envelope. The proposal, however, you'll see hugs the existing building, and there's virtually no material view loss. The points that the objector was referring to, and the water and land water interface, are both kept in both of those photos. Now, beyond that, members of the panel, I would like to indicate that we have revised the application a number of times in order to get it to a stage where we feel that it achieves a appropriate level of view sharing and is consistent with the terms of tenacity and Warringah Council. It has a similar envelope to the existing building, similar bulk and scale, and there are areas where there will be a view gain from the proposal, resulting from the proposal, and also in terms of solar access. So for those reasons, we believe that the proposal satisfies the tests of the preservation of environmental amenity as required by clause 4.6, and has the sufficient environmental planning grounds. We're happy to answer any other questions you may have, members of the panel.
Am
Thank
I
you.
able to speak?
Are there any questions? Yes.
Can I just ask one question? Adam Sinclair referred to the 3.65 metre wall. I didn't quite get that. Is that the western wall of the terrace of the living room?
It is the western wall. Yes, it's actually elevated. Well, from the pictures, and I have seen Figure 15, Mr. Tobias.
Can we just have the objector has spoken, members of the panel?
I'm sorry, can I just ask people who've spoken, objectors, to put themselves on mute, because we've had your representation. So we're just having questions from the panel to the applicant at this point. So
yes,
thank you very much.
Yes, that is correct. That it is that wall that you'll see on DA A2004B on the western elevation.
So what page is it in the report? Can you?
No, I don't. Actually, I'll find that. Just bear with me.
Okay. Okay. Did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. So we've got the information we need. So it's on. Okay. Right. Any other questions from the panel? No? Okay.
So, Helen, yes, could I just clarify the tree, the Norfolk Island pine, is that staying or is that going?
That's on George Sinclair's property. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we've got all the information we need. So thank you very much for your time today. The next application that we'll deal with will be 62 Willangra Road, Dover Heights. Do we have any registered speakers here on behalf of the objector? No? Okay. We've got Mark Shapiro here, I can see. Is there anything that you would like to say? Have you've seen the submissions made and you've seen the submissions?
Yes, I have. And I don't have anything to add, just to say thank you for your time, and we fully support the recommendation in the council report. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Do panel members have any questions for the architect? No? No, we don't have any questions. So thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you.
The next application we have before us is apartments 13 and 14, 101 Ramsgate Avenue. And we have no objectors, but we do have John Aspinall on behalf of the owner registered to speak. Is John in the room?
I am, yes.
Would you like to address the panel?
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and panel members. I'm John Aspinall from Urbane Design Group. We specialise in visual impact assessments, and we're appointed by the applicant to look at potential view loss and visual impact of the roof development at 101 Ramsgate Avenue. Our assessment of the visual impact was negligible. The view loss was assigned primarily to district views, sky views, and in one instance only, a very partial water view. I'd like to bring the panel's attention to that view if I could, and that is in the agenda, page 467, and also in figure 9 of the refusal of the application. Now you can see here, there is what we describe as under the tenacity agreement, a negligible amount of water view loss to the ocean, not a high value view, no ocean water interface. And from our calculations in a graphic assessment package, we estimate that to be under 2% of a water view. Now that is the main basis of the one of the bases of the council's refusal of the application, being that there is moderate view loss from this location. And I'd strongly disagree with that and would ask the panel to reassess that. Also, in light of the clauses that are referred to in the refusal, namely 1.2 of the LEP, protecting amenity of neighbours, but clause 2.14 overrides that to a degree where it specifies what should be done with views and view loss. And Waverley, as with many councils, promotes view sharing and ensure views are shared whilst minimising view loss. And I think the example that the decision makers have highlighted here shows that it very much is in keeping with the DCP requirements for view sharing and view loss. I'd also highlight, if I could, the approval of one of the properties from which the views are taken, the DA approval of 154 Ramsgate Avenue, which is actually view 9, the one we're looking at as being a partial water view. We prepared a visual impact for this, the DA of this 4-storey apartment building. That view loss to the ocean and ocean beach interface was described as moderate and in certain cases moderate to severe. That's a apartment building sitting directly opposite this current site, where a pitched roof was replaced with a flat roof. The view loss to water and water interface was considerable, and yet the approval was given to that. In relation to the form of the roof itself, I would contend that it complies with the requirements for the dormer windows to sit with a minimum of 300 below the ridgeline. And from a visual impact perspective, the straightening of the element of the stepped hipped roof, which is the current situation at 101, I don't believe causes any additional visual impact. And I don't believe that contradicts the expressed intent of the DCP that roof lines should be maintained and should reflect the roof lines of the adjoining properties. That summarises my assessment. I would ask the panel look at the one view that they do say causes moderate view loss. All the others are agreed by council to be nil impact or negligible. And I would strongly make a point that that view from 154 is well in keeping with the DCP requirements. If there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
I will refer to the panel. There are other non-compliances, of course, like FSR.
Yes,
so views are just one aspect or one consideration. Does anyone on the panel have any questions? Okay, thank you very much for your presentation today. Thank you. Sorry.
I will. Yes, sorry, I will. I just will. We have the view analysis in front of us, or the report in front of us. What page is the moderate view loss as referred to by the council report? Was it
in your refusal document? It's figure 9. In the agenda, it's on page 467. It's the view from 154. In the final image of that selection, we highlight in cyan the small portion that exceeds the current roof.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll go on to the next application, which is for Waratah Street, North Bondi. And we have 2 registered speakers, Andrea Miller and Sophia Kaplan, as objectors. So if Andrea or Sophia are in the room,
yes, I am.
Yes. So
yes.
would you like to introduce yourself, because your name says Greg?
It's a Greg's iPad. Sophia Kaplan.
Okay, thanks, Sophia. You've got 3 minutes to address the panel and your concerns.
Okay. I'll start with the principal issues in the report, which says that view loss and roof terrace. It doesn't talk about implications for the privacy of neighboring ones as far as roof terrace is concerned. I believe there are other people talking about it, or at least putting submission about it, and I'm not talking about, I won't talk about terrace anymore.
You know that the condition has been to remove the roof terrace?
Is it decided?
Well, that's what the recommendation of the council.
Okay, appreciated. Now, the second one I would want to say is that excavations. From a bad experience when the garage was built in number 4, we had problems with the side attached to the number 4 subsiding. It isn't discussed in a report, and I appreciate the fact that you are talking very seriously about excavation, because it's very deep. And thanks for request for a delimitation report. I hope I'll get a copy of it.
We'll look at the conditions with regard to excavation. Thank you. Is there any other comments that you'd like to make?
Oh, yes. Now, 1.5. Visual and acoustic privacy. It says that it's noted that those 3 windows which are facing number 4 do not service habitable rooms. I was going to ask, well, how could it possibly be? Now, yeah, rooms are habitable. It's a living room, it's a study, and it's a kitchen and family room. Now, all windows, which it says that there is between the windows, there is a fence, all windows are above the fence, because property number 2 sits higher on the ground than number 4. Again, another one, which is a fence between the properties. I don't understand how it could be compliant if it says that the front, practically it's a front yard or whatever left of it, the fence should be 1.2. It's definitely not that. I've submitted the request for it like 3 years ago. So there is a significant loss of light, because the building now is going to be much higher. At the moment, it's a pitched roof, and despite the fact that the house faces very close to a boundary, there's still some light because of a pitched roof. Now all those 3 windows on that side are going to be blocked. And probably I would say that's a lot.
Could you wrap up now, Sophia, because your time...
Yes. So practically, to repeat, I'm asking for privacy and lighting to be considered, because what's said in a report does not reflect reality.
Just to make sure that we're all on the same page, we're looking at the plans. Most of the windows are oriented east-west rather than to the adjoining property. So I'm just wondering where the areas of concern.
Just a sec. I'll pull the drawings. Okay, number 2, development applications, drawing a, where's the one? which is, okay, drawing A102.
Yes.
So at first, one window is missing. You noted it in the report. There is a fourth window at the back of a property number 2, which is from a, well, it's a combined kitchen and family room. So practically what I have on the drawing, one of the windows from property number 4 is facing directly the window which I have. And it's a big question of privacy.
Sorry, thank you, Sophia. I might just leave it at that, and I think we've got all the information we need. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, so we have another speaker registered, Andrea Miller. Is Andrea Miller in the room? No? Okay, so we might just go straight to the applicant. George, you're here to speak on behalf of the applicant, and Dustin Cashmore on behalf of the architects.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll speak on behalf of the applicant, and Dustin would be happy to answer any questions of the panel. Firstly, we'd like to concur with the assessment contained in the report and the recommendation, and we're not here to challenge any of the conditions. Secondly, as indicated, as you would have seen by the report, the proposal complies with the key standards of height and FSR, and in fact deals with that way, or complies with most of the other controls. There's a minor non-compliance to the DCP in terms of wall height on the southern elevation, but that's due to the terrain and does not result in any material impacts as confirmed in Council Officer's report. Views was one of the main issues that was raised by the objectors during the notification, and that's been addressed in page 523 of the agenda. The proposal has been reduced in height, and it already complies, that is now acceptable from a tenacity point of view in terms of view sharing. The matters raised by the neighbour today, first in terms of privacy and the roof terrace, as indicated, we're not pressing or challenging their condition for the removal of the terrace. In terms of excavation, if you look at page 561 of your agenda, the basement plan merely contains some OSD, some plant rooms, storage, and a small wine cellar, and of course a stair to come down to it. So it's not a excessively large basement, and we're happy to adhere to the relevant conditions relating to excavation. In terms of the privacy from the sides, as indicated, the dwelling is oriented to the front and the rear. Notwithstanding that, you'll see on pages 567 and 568 of the agenda, the side elevations, you'll see a dotted line which indicates the line of the existing boundary fence, and you'll see it is lower than the eye level of a person. And in any case, all you have on the one elevation is highlight window, and the other, you've got two other windows which are, as I said, not an issue of concern. And finally, in terms of solar access, the proposal comprises a compliant interface with a neighbour in terms of a side setback, a height, and of course FSR. So the shadow that is caused is a result of a complying development. It's a two-storey dwelling in an area where two-storey dwellings are permissible with that subject side setback. So for all those reasons, members of the panel, we think the proposal is appropriate for the site locality and worthy of approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Panel members, are there any questions for the applicant?
No.
No. Okay, thank you very much, George, for your time today.
Thank you.
As there are no more speakers for this item, we'll go to the next item on the agenda, which is 160 Hastings Parade, North Bondi. And we have 3 objectors, I think. The first one is Stephanie Vitala. And then we have Warwick Davies and David Caterns. So I noticed, Stephanie, that you're a lawyer. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I'd just like to affirm to you that you speak to the planning issues today. This is not a legal representation.
Yes, understand.
Yes. Okay, so if you've got 3 minutes to present your issues.
Thank you, panel. My name's Stephanie Vitala and I'm a solicitor from Denton's. I act for the immediately adjoining owner of the semi-detached dwelling at 162 Hastings Parade, North Bondi. My client has raised a number of concerns with the proposed development over a series of submissions made to council late last year and early this year. Those concerns included protection of the party wall during construction, repositioning of the box gutter to avoid flooding of my client's property, the need for a construction methodology statement to ensure protection of my client's property, robust engineering controls to ensure no adverse impacts on my client's property during construction, and proper and robust geotechnical information in relation to the cliff line at the rear of the property. My client thanks council officers for requiring the further information from the applicant during the course of the assessment phase. There's been a number of iterations, and for the detailed proposed conditions of consent which form Annex A to the assessment report, which now address my client's concerns, save for one matter which my client's geotechnical engineer, Mr. Warwick Davies, will shortly raise with the panel. My client asks that council ensure the proposed conditions of consent, if consent is ultimately granted in accordance with those conditions, are strictly adhered to during the carrying out of the development. Thank you, panel.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there any questions for Stephanie? Okay, thank you. We'll hear from Warwick Davies to talk to the geotechnical concerns. Thank you. Warwick, you're on mute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My apology. Are you hearing me well?
Yes, we can now. Thank you.
Thank you. From the geotechnical perspective, I have been asked to examine the application on behalf of the owners at 162 Hastings Parade, and I've submitted 2 reports on those issues. As a result of that, the applicant's geotechnical engineer has addressed various revisions, amendments to their report submitted for the DA. I have seen 2 of those, and a subsequent one, which is the most recent, dated 16 February, I wasn't aware of and didn't see for any review purpose until yesterday. I've had a very brief look at it, but overall, my contribution here today is to address the conditions of the consent that are suggested and wish to identify them in terms of their relevance to the geotechnical matters that I've been addressing. They are conditions 14, 15, 16, 21, 35, 45 and 46. Now, I'm not going to go into them, but overall, they are quite robust, and I commend the council's deliberation in preparing them in addressing the geotechnical matters that have been raised by objection in my reports. I have a particular problem, though, with condition 14, which Ms. Vitala has just raised with you. I think it is flawed by way of perhaps editorial and perhaps a little bit of more thinking. There's no major issue with it other than I don't think it's effective without some further consideration. Condition 14,
Can you just tell us what page it is on in our report?
I'm sorry, I can't tell you that. I haven't looked at your documentation.
629. Okay, no, it's okay. I found it. Thank you.
All right. Condition 14, subparagraph B for Bravo. a number of Roman numeral sub-paragraphs. I'm addressing sub-paragraph Roman 3, which says the CMR, the construction methodology report, which is a very important document that's highlighted in these conditions, must include a review of the geotechnical reports prepared by Martins. Firstly, they're referred to as dated December. The most recent report updating is February 16th, 2024. I think that needs correction. Not only that, the CMR must advise on the need of any further assessment works as additional geotechnical investigations, further assessment of the cliff line via aerial drone surveys, abseil rope inspections, etc. Now, those things need to be done in order to gain a very thorough appraisal of the risk issues associated with the cliff line as far as they affect the property at 160, potentially 162 as well. However, that's not the subject of the assessment report by Martins. In relation to the proposed works, I feel that those issues are needing to be done to assess properly the risks, the hazards, the risks, and the outcome of the risk assessment proposed by Martins. And the effect of that condition, as it's worded, does not supply any indication as to when those additional geotechnical investigations and assessment in relation to the cliffline stability should be carried out. In fact, there's no locking in of those conditions to a requirement, say, prior to the awarding of the construction certificate. Or indeed, would it be prior to release of the occupation certificate? There's nothing there to indicate when those elements may be done, other than into the future sometime, maybe 20 years down the track. There's no use to my clients in terms of their concern. So
a specific time frame. We can take that on board.
That's correct. I commend the council though for the conditions and their robustness, and I think they should go forward with consideration for 14 sub B Roman 3. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, do you have any specific queries? No, that was clear. Okay, thank you very much for your time, Warwick.
My pleasure, and thank you.
If we have no more speakers, I'll go on to the next application. The next application is 1A Barclay Street, Waverley.
Sorry, panel.
Sorry. I apologise. Sorry. I've got a lot of writing on this one, so I missed you there, Alex. So, do you have anything to respond to? I mean, the objector also mentioned box guttering and the party wall, as well as the geotech, and you might want to respond to the conditions of consent.
I think the objectors have pointed out clearly the council's put a very detailed and robust set of conditions towards our application. I think that with regards to the standard conditions that come out of council, that the ideas of protection, box gutter, all of the geotech report requirements and, the numerous conditions is more than adequate to cover off the risk. Of course, the risk is also posed to my client, and we're certainly not in the business of doing things that are going to pose significant risk to our client or their neighbours. I do note that the objector has a significant building on a boundary that's in poor condition and should be addressing that themselves. But otherwise, I think council has gone through a very detailed review of this proposal, and we are happy with the proposed conditions and the submission for approval. So I won't waste your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex, and I apologise for not seeing you there just then. Yes, we've got one question for you, Alex, before you go.
I'm still here.
Oh, no, he's still there,
Just a question, how do you get into the pool filter room?
How do you get into the pool filter room? It'll be liftable cover.
So you'd lift the cover off and then there's like a ladder or something going down the there?
Cover has a hydraulic press, so when you unlock it, it's kind of like a gas and it'll just pop up, and then with a gentle amount of lifting it'll open up, and then there'll be like equivalent to a pull ladder going down. That's a standard, pit ladder to access.
Okay, thank you.
So, yep.
Any other questions before Alex disappears? No? Okay. No, thanks, Alex. You can go now. Sorry. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so the next application we have is 1A Barclay Street, Waverley. We have no registered objectors to speak, but we have the applicant. Is the applicant present? No. Okay. We have the next one we have is 9 Illawong Avenue, Tamarama. We have no objectors registered to speak. Is there anyone to speak on behalf of the applicant? No? Okay. The next item we have is for Tasman Street, Bondi. We have no registered objectors to speak, and the applicant hasn't registered to speak either. So we'll move on to the next one, which is 73 St Thomas Street, Bronte. Again, we have no registered objectors or applicant to speak. And again, for the next one, which is 169 Hastings Parade, North Bondi, no registered objectors or applicant to speak. So that takes us to the end of our meeting.
Excuse me, panel. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I noticed that
Okay, all right. Sorry, all right.
Excuse me.
Sorry, yes, no, Sharon, I've just been told by our secretariat that you were registered to speak for item 2. Is that correct?
Yes, because I have.
So 72A Lamrock Avenue, Bondi Beach. Is that correct?
Right.
Yes. Okay. So
something.
If you would like to address the panel on, you've got 3 minutes to address the panel on 72A Lamrock Avenue.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm Sharon Chen from 70A Lamrock Avenue, the next door of the 72A Lamrock Avenue. The main concern for my family is the privacy problem, because their house they built at the backyard, a part of their kitchen and living room face to our living room and the bedroom. And the distance is very close. We can see and hear each other. That's very hard for us to protect our privacy. If they change the use of the backyard house as a residence, that will increase household. If a family live there, there will be a lot of noise and lighting affecting our family life. I think that's very uncomfortable, and this will be a permanent effect to us. The main point is this for what I'm concerning. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So are you the other side of the semi? Is that correct?
Yes.
You're the other side of the semi. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Just next door of 72A.
Okay. Now, panel, are there any questions for Sharon?
Sorry, Madam Chair, if I could just interrupt. My name is Jenny Askin, and I was going to appear on behalf of the applicant. I had some technical difficulties earlier, so I'm also available.
I'm sorry, Jenny, can you just hold it, please? Because we haven't finished dealing with Sharon. And
no problem.
So if you could just wait your turn, you'll have an opportunity to speak. So panel, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to confirm which property. I was a bit confused as well, Sharon. So which is your property address? You're on mute, I think.
My property address is 78 Lamrock Avenue, Bondi Beach.
Okay, thank you, 70A. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So could you confirm, are you the other side of the semi? Are you a pair with that semi? No. Okay.
No, I just the one side of the semi.
Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. No other questions? No. Okay. All right. So Jenny, you were registered to speak on behalf of the applicant. So you've heard the issues today?
Yes.
The main concern is about the change of use and the impacts on privacy, overlooking, loss of amenity, noise, etc.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you for the opportunity to actually present to you today, and apologies that I was late coming on earlier on. Firstly, we'd just like to say that we welcome the recommendation of the report, and we don't have any issues in terms of the conditions that Council has recommended. I note as well that there was a clause 4.6 relating to the minimum lot size, and as set out in the report, we've established that there's sufficient environmental planning grounds and that it complies with the objectives of the principles of the housing SEP. Now, the report has gone in a lot of detail in terms of the amenity. This is for a change of use. There are no works proposed. The report as well has confirmed that the windows as constructed will protect the privacy of adjoining properties. In particular, the upper window to the proposed bedroom is set at more than 1.5 metres, or I think it's at 1.5 metres above finished floor level. What I'd also particularly like to note is that the floor area is 36.97 square metres, which is obviously well below the size for a secondary dwelling. And this will not allow, looking at the size of the living space and also looking at the size of the bedroom, it will not allow for a family to live here. It would more than likely be a single or a couple that would be there. It's also available for the family to use as additional accommodation. So in terms of the change of use, I know that issues were raised as well in terms of parking, but there is no change to the parking, and it will maintain the number of spaces as currently exists. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the panel have, but as set out in the report, we believe that this is consistent with the housing SEP and is also consistent with Council's privacy controls as set out in the DCP.
Do panel members have any? No. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your time today. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of our meeting. And so we will now deliberate in private, and the minutes of this meeting and the determinations will be available on the website soon. Thank you very much. I'll close the meeting at 12:23.